everybody, and a very, very good evening. Now, when I say evening, that's a little bit of a shock, isn't it? Because as you know, I very seldom film in this bijou flat at night. One, because I'm always at work, but two, because the lighting is rubbish, as you can probably see. It is nighttime out there. There's just the twinkling lights of London in the background. But the reason I am filming, this is the long-awaited, and it is actually for me very exciting, the day, or shall I say the night, that I am going to meet pretty over 50 Kimberly herself. Now, obviously, she's on American time, I'm on British mean time, so it's early in the morning for her. My face has opened up, but I've already had a glimpse of her. She looks absolutely stunning, but it is early for her and fairly late for me. Let me just, for any of you who don't know Kimberly, actually, you will all know Kimberly, because let me just tell you this, I had no idea that suddenly my subscribers on my channel leapt by thousands within 1 week, and I just couldn't work out what had happened. But YouTube are very clever. Unlike radio, and by the way, we got our radio audience figures today, so more of that in another vlog. But unlike radio, YouTube literally give you an analytics that tells you minute by minute who is watching, but not only that, where they are watching. And I suddenly had this massive audience in the USA. And then as I started to read comments on the vlogs of that week, many of you were saying, Jo, I've come here because of Pretty Over 50. And I went, sorry? Pretty Over 50. And I started to look at Pretty Over 50. And then I just smiled to myself, because there was this fantastic vlog where Kimberly, who you're going to meet in a moment, is lying in bed in a hotel talking about my YouTube channel. And I was ecstatic. Now, if you search, you will find Kimberly's interview or Q&A with me, which was far more professional than this one is going to be. I'm not referring to Philippe, because he knows what he's doing, but he's in his flat in South London mixing all this. I am in my flat in Westminster with very dim lighting, so bear with me. Are you ready? I am so pleased to say, everybody, we can welcome onto Middleagedminx, Pretty Over 50, Kimberly. Hello.
Hi, Jo. How are you?
I am so well. I mean, is it early in the morning for you?
You know, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I've done a little bit of work. I've actually filmed a little bit this morning already, and now I get to hop on with you. So this is just a treat for me.
Do you know what's making me laugh, Kimberly? Our hair, we've sort of, you've got it over one side and I've got it over the other. We're like bookends.
I know, I've had so many people comment, you and Jo look like sisters, which is, we have the same hairdo, let's face it.
I am very flattered, because you're actually younger than me, so I am very flattered. Well, no, actually, no. And when you get to our age, it all sort of merges into one decade, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
May I just ask, so most people who follow you know that you are a bit of a free spirit, and you have recently moved from California to Aiken in South Carolina. Is that where you are now?
I am. I'm in a little town called Aiken, South Carolina, which is as sweet as you could imagine. And I came here because I have not spent much time in the South at all. And I thought, if I move there, even for a year, it's going to afford me the opportunity to get to know the culture, see the areas, see the Appalachians, see the East Coast. Just sounded like an adventure. So I packed everything in my SUV. The rest I sold or gave away. And my dog and my cat, and we drove across country to Aiken, South Carolina. And when I moved into the house that I'm in right now, Jo, all I had was a camping cot and a camping chair. That's what I moved in with.
That's why
it was a bit of an adventure.
And that's why I love her. The more I've researched Kimberly, we have so much in common, because people were saying to you, but hang on, you don't know anyone. And you went, no, but I will get to know people. And you already have. You said quite rightly, I'll go out on the streets, I will meet people. And that's what's happened, hasn't it?
Yeah. And, you know, of all the traveling I've done, and I'm sure that you've experienced this, everywhere I go, there's been people there. So it's hard to get lonely. And I've been fortunate to connect with some really wonderful friends already. And I live in a sweet little neighborhood. Joe, it's the type of neighborhood that when I'm walking Lucy down the street, people wave as they drive by. They don't know who I am. It's just, that's what we do. So it's been delightful.
And I love it. And I love what you've done. And I love the fact you have a garden. And I'm very envious of your garden. And we've seen it grow. I want to start not right at the beginning, because you talk a little about your life and your style. And I said this when you were asking me questions. Your style is so different to mine. I am frantic. Philippe, who's editing all of this, will say she totally is. I'm frantic. I've got all this misspent energy, and my vlogs are often quite manic. You have this extraordinary stillness and warmth, a genuine warmth that makes us lean in to follow you. But you didn't come from a YouTube background. You certainly you weren't an influencer, but you were very creative. You were an artist. What encouraged you? What gave you the idea to start YouTube?
That's such a good question. And I know that we've touched on it privately a little bit. And I've talked about it a little bit on my channel, that I was in, my early 60s and my skin looked terrible. I mean, it really did, which is the truth, but it's not the whole story. So the whole story is in the summer of 2018, my youngest daughter, Grace, died. She was 24 years old. And I'll tell you what, is all the pain that you can imagine that comes with that, came with that for me. And I spent literally the next year in bed crying and crocheting and watching YouTube makeup videos, because that was the only thing, it provided me comfort. And that's what I needed over that period of time, was comfort. And as hard as it is to go through a tragedy like that, the real challenge comes when you have to continue on with life. I mean, it's extraordinarily painful. And I've told people it's not like physical pain that starts big and fades. It comes in and it stays as just as painful as it was. But you learn, or at least I've learned, to work around it. So I was at that point, 12 months, crying, crocheting, watching YouTube makeup videos. And I came to that point, Joe, where, and we've all been there, where I thought, Kimberly, you're either going to sink or swim. And I was in very bad health because I'd spent a year in grief. I looked terrible. And when you have a tragedy like that, that's not the only thing that happens. I mean, everything falls apart. My social life, my romantic life, my professional life, everything. There was no area of my life I was winning. And I thought, Kimberly, you're either going to get up and live life, or you might as well just, stay in bed forever. And I decided that if I could find something to get me out of bed, that would help. And the only thing that I could think of that sounded like an interesting enough project to make me want to get out of bed was to start a YouTube channel. And I knew that my skin looked terrible. I knew I was, there was a lot of work to be done. And I thought, I wonder if I can improve my skin, or if I'm just too old. But I thought it was a challenge worth taking on. And that was the only thing I could think of that could get me back into life again. And I thought maybe there might be a few women out there that would find the journey interesting. I didn't know if it was going to work, clearly, because I was only at the beginning. And I thought that maybe I could make some connections, that I could start getting to know people or, you know, developing some type of relationship. And so that's how it started. So if you go back to the very beginning of my channel, what you'll see is a woman who was just looking for a life preserver. You know, I was just looking for that something. And here's the part that I'm probably going to choke up about is at the end of all my videos, I say to my viewers, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. And Joe, I could not be more sincere about that because those women saved me. Those women who showed up and continue to show up, they saved me. The connection saved me. The comments saved me. Just the fact that they turned on the video saved me. So when I say that, it is such a deep, heartfelt sentiment that I am just so very grateful for all those women, because I would not have the life I have today, which is all, you know, it's like I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I love my job. I love where I'm living. I'm having fun. And it really was all to do with the fact that I was able to do that and have those women show up and build the connections and have that reason.
I need to tell everyone that Kimberly did tell me in an email, we have not spoken at all. We set up this interview and we said, you know, we're going to have a Zoom at this time. And she just sent me an email and said, I have never spoken about this before. And I think maybe now's the time to do it. And I will do it on your channel. And I sent it to Philippe, and Philippe responded, Philippe who's editing, and just went, oh my gosh, Joe, this is a big responsibility. And the reason why is that I then went back, Kimberly, I looked at nearly every video you've posted to get a clue, to try and see if the clues were there, you know. And it's so interesting you mention how you finish your vlogs, because that's a clue. But otherwise there are very few clues as to the grief that you're carrying and the tragedy that you went through. And what I last night before I went to sleep, I was just thinking, people criticize social media so much. People criticize trolls and, you know, people that show off in front of a camera, as it's called. And when you hear something like this, you just realize how fantastic a community, and particularly, a community of women really are, because people are supporting you, Kimberly, from the very beginning, not out of sympathy, not to offer you affection or anything. They just got you. They actually got you. So this, to know this about your life is an absolute privilege for me, but also for your followers is going to be quite a lot to take in, because they live alongside you in your life. You know, what you put in your garden, what you put in your home, they live alongside you, and it is a lot to take in. But the only thing I said to you in my response on the email is, I have learned on the radio, for every one voice, they always say this, for every one voice that calls me, there are 99 that wish they had. So you telling us about what you are dealing with, what your family is dealing with, there are so many people watching this who will be going through this. And that's why I think social media can be amazing. And I think that women and men, but very much on your channel, women supporting women. And what fascinates me, and I'm not trying to be a poor man's Freud, is that you took such a risk at a time when you were at your most vulnerable. You looked into a camera and said, look, this is what I look like. I'm going to now start to experiment with skincare. It could have gone, I mean, that's the most vulnerable any woman can be, actually. It could have gone so wrong, couldn't it?
Yeah, you know, looking back now, I didn't even think about what could happen. I just thought, this is the only thing that sounds even a little bit interesting or exciting. But I'll tell you a funny story. You know, no great tragedy is not without its comedy. And so I was living up in the Northern California coast near my oldest daughter. And that was the one gift I had, is that I was living really near to my oldest daughter. And she, she was struggling as well. I was struggling. We were both very gentle with each other. And I told her, I said, honey, I think I'm going to start a YouTube channel about skincare for older women. And Joe, she loves me. She loves me. We love each other just so very much. But she looked at me and she went, I don't know, Mom. And then when I did my first couple of videos, she was like, you might want to put on a little bit of makeup before you start in. She was so worried about me and so gentle. And now, of course, she's thrilled that I did it and she's very, very supportive. But it was one of those kind of things. I said, no, honey, I think I can do this. I think I can. Stick with me here. I think this is going to be okay.
Because it's like,
and I just pushed forward.
And it's role reversal.
How it could go wrong.
No, I mean, and that's what fascinates me, because you were at your most vulnerable, and then you just literally revealed yourself on the internet to everybody.
I know.
And it's role reversal, because it's her generation that you would have thought would have picked up the camera and said, in fact, what I love, and I urge people to have a look, your last vlog, as far as we're concerned here, was with Heather. Heather came to stay. And there was a clue there, actually, because she's so beautiful. Your daughter is absolutely beautiful. And she's quite sort of, she's her own person and lets you get on with the filming and everything. She's not one of these people eager to be in front of the camera. But when she left you, you were really emotional and said, I've just sat and cried for a day, actually. And it's quite, because I said in my introduction, you're very unlike me. You throw out nuggets of your private life, but not that many, because it's a job. What you do is a job. You literally offer on your channel advice. But amongst this, very occasionally, you'll throw a nugget of your private life out. Apart from this evening, apart from what you've told us this evening, is that intentional? Had you thought, I don't want to share that bit, I want to get on with the job involved?
That's a good observation. And I guess I'm not really aware that I did that. I think that what I am aware of is that the channel is not about me. It's about the viewers and what questions they're asking. And from the very beginning, I put myself in the position of the viewer who was looking for information. So when I would post a video, I always posted something that someone would be searching for. Like if you go to YouTube and you type in, you're looking for answers. And so I was always very aware that one of the most helpful things that I could do is provide answers based on my experience. And so when I get on camera, I'm always aware of what is useful that I'm sharing. Is this going to help somebody? Is somebody going to find a solution or a tip or a trick that's going to make their life easier? And if I can't really provide that, then I probably don't include it. So I think it's just my nature to want to do something that I think is going to be helpful.
And you have over 250,000 subscribers. I mean, it's extraordinary because you've only been going for 3 years. I mean, it is absolutely extraordinary. And I think that's the reason. But I was watching an interview with you this afternoon where you said, and this is so clever, because you were a businesswoman and you said you know how to present, you had to do that in the job, you ran a company, but you also know analytics, and you said, I put 50 in every title. Of course you do, it's the title of your channel. But that's so clever, because if anyone's looking for anything over 50, you're going to come up. So it's not by chance. I mean, you've got 250,000 subscribers, but you did put a lot of thought into the focus of your channel. It doesn't leak all over the place. It's extremely focused. Is that because of the job you did in the past, that you ran a company and it's all to do with focus?
Yeah, I think it is. I was very aware of search. And search is, how do you direct people who are asking a question to the right answer? So I was very aware of search and how the algorithms worked. And I just wanted to make sure that if someone was asking a question about moisturizers or vitamin C serum, that they would find me if that was the answer they were looking for. So that may have been the only leg up I had, is that I understood how it worked when people go onto their computer looking for something.
You, when I said you offer us nuggets, you never use clickbait, and I so envy you that, because I fall foul of that quite often. But, you know, my subscribers tell me very early on in the video, they'll go, what are you doing, you know? But you never, ever use clickbait. And there was one time when I thought you should, because you were in your garden, and this is typical Kimberly, actually. You're in your garden talking about planting something, and then you say, look, I've got a friend who's going through a bit at the moment because her partner's being unfaithful, which reminds me of when I was in my marriage, and I was like leaning in thinking, oh my God, you're in your garden and you're about to tell us this mind-blowing, and you do, and you talk about, and God, I wish I'd known this when my husband was off with other women. By the way, I think I told you my husband's married 6 other women, 6 altogether. I wish I'd taken your advice, because you said, it's apropos of nothing, the video is not even about this, you said, you know, it was a reflection on where I was, that almost my self-worth was that I had him back. I just had a baby, I stayed with him, and you said, you know, I now realise if I valued myself I wouldn't have done that. But Kimberly, it was slap bang, it was almost towards the end of your video. Was that completely random, or had you planned that?
Oh gosh, you know, that's so funny that I think about it now. Is, to be honest with you, it was more a communication with the friend who was going through that. I wanted to say to them, however you handle it, that's exactly the right thing for you, because that's where you are. And it's so funny. The fact that it was going on my blog was almost secondary, because I wanted to say that. I wanted to give that sentiment to my friend. Whatever you do, I support you and I'll be here. So I don't know that I intended it to be anywhere in the video. I just wanted to communicate that to my friend. Isn't that funny? I don't know why I didn't just say it in person, but... No,
I know, but I mean, you will, again, you know, for every one person, there will be many people who watched that and thought, yeah, if only I'd thought that way. I also want to talk about the beauty industry, because you, even in 3 years, have seen so many changes. I mean, there is so much coming onto the market. How do you choose? I mean, I, in my own little way, I live in this tiny flat, and I don't know about your flat, there are boxes everywhere. Just people sending you stuff, which, you know I was an actress, and I used to advertise television commercials where no one sent you anything. You were just paid to go and do the job. But now, I suppose their budget goes on influencers. They just send stuff out in the hope that we will pick up on it. What's your barometer? What do you consider, and what do you absolutely say no way?
Yeah, boy, you certainly need to have a good idea of who you are and what you're willing to do when you go into this. And I didn't realize it in the beginning. Of course, in the beginning, we're just tickled that we're getting all this stuff.
Yes.
You know? I am very discerning now. And like you, I'm sure, exactly like you, I wake up and there's a brick of emails from companies that want me to, I call it, shill their products for them. And those just get deleted automatically. I never, ever will do any type of business relationship with a company unless I've used their product, loved it, and feel like it's one of the best choices for quality, price point, and everything in the marketplace. And I really work with a small number of companies. And I've actually, when a company that I think might have something that is worth me working with sends me something, I'll say to them, the first thing you have to do is send me the product and let me experience it. And if I feel like there's the next step, we need to talk the next step, I'll let you know. And I've had a lot of companies that have sent me something and I've used it and I'm like, no, not so much. I don't like the price point. It's not what I thought it would be. The companies that I end up working with, and I'm sure you're the same way, are the ones that are just like, oh my gosh, that I would tell a girlfriend if we were out to lunch, like, you gotta check this out. It's so good. So it's a very, I think I've definitely gotten much pickier over time. And I have a very short list of companies that I'm willing to work with because they see us they see us that we worked so hard to build a community and they want to take advantage of that. And that doesn't work for me. You've got to come to me with something that's really unique, that's really special, that's priced well, a company that has great customer service. It has to tick all the boxes or it just doesn't happen because, I am not money motivated. If it's something that I would tell you if we were having lunch, then okay, then I'll think about working with them. And I think that once you were in this arena for a while, this is exactly, how you do it.
I know we touched on this before, but the fact that, I'm in my late 60s, you're in your early mid 60s.
No, I'm going to be 66 next month, Missy.
I'm flattering you. I mean, there is like 18 months between us, everybody. But I mean, I was saying to you, the thought that companies do come to us is quite extraordinary when you think of all these young, beautiful people out there, who don't have what I have. I mean, especially under artificial lighting. Sorry, everybody, but they come to us, and I think it's because women of a certain age, we are loyal to each other. I think we are loyal. We don't fly all over the place, scrolling through. But at the same time, that is a huge responsibility, isn't it? Because they're also the people that will not forgive you. If you go wrong, they'll go, no, that's that then. Do you know what I mean? So they're canny and they're clever. They're loyal until you test their loyalty. Would you agree?
Yeah. And, I don't mind it when someone holds my feet to the fire because it gives me the opportunity to double check. Like, are they right? Do I need to self-correct here? And, I don't really mind it. That's probably the way that I would be too, particularly if it was someone that I'd been following for a while and I really trusted them. I want to make sure that they keep earning that trust.
Absolutely. Can we just talk about your free spirit lifestyle? I get the sort of feeling that you can move, if you had to, you could roll up the rug and you'd be out in 10 minutes, pack the camper van and you'd be off again. Am I right? Is that because you actually said in one of your vlogs, this isn't going to be your forever home? Is it?
Well, I don't know if there's going to be a forever home. I don't know. I love to travel. And here's the thing with traveling, Joe, and you probably, because I know when you went to, was it Mallorca that you went to?
Yeah.
When you went there, you are my guilty Sunday morning pleasure. I wake up Sunday mornings so excited that I get to make my coffee and watch Joe. I anticipate it so much. And so I understand why you have such a dedicated, loyal following. I'm one of them. I'm there Sunday morning.
Well, you supplied half of them. Half of them are from you.
So I think when you were in Mallorca, you were so in love. You were just, everything about it, from the air to the water to the relaxed lifestyle. And then when you got back to London, you were like, oh, my London, my London. And it's almost, when you move a lot, it's almost like having all this string of great boyfriends. There was something you loved about each of them and you miss about each of them. So it's kind of a pleasure pain thing where it's so wonderful to go to a new area, to live there, to experience the culture, to do all the fun things. And then you go to the next area and that has fabulous things too. I mean, I've lived in Montana, I've lived in Tulum, I've lived in Ecuador, I've lived in Portland. And every single one of them has something that I'm just in love with. So it's like I'm always missing somebody or something.
Yeah, but you know what, Kimberly? It tests your survival instinct That's what I love about you. You know, when you said, no, I don't know anyone in Aiken, but there are people there. And I just think it really tests your survival, you know? You've got to go out there. And which again is like making YouTube. You do it yourself. You're like, I always think we're like turtles, except I have Philippe. But you do everything. You edit. You do everything yourself. You're like a one-man band. And that takes me really to where we are now. And I always hate it when people say, what do you see? Where do you see? I've never had a game plan. I've never had a life plan ever. YouTube, you know, it keeps reinventing itself, these algorithms, whatever they call it. I don't care about those because I've never really understood them, to be honest. I think it will always be a platform that has a strong following. What we all do on it may change. And Kimberly, I am dying to do a documentary on YouTubers and where they are now, because so many I've followed stopped, you know, have stopped, built, in this country, built walls around their houses so that nobody can see in, because they started very young. It all became very successful, and they literally became paranoid with their own success, and they stopped. We've been through a lot, you and I. You know, it would probably take more than people staring in through my windows for me to stop this. But I don't know where I'm going to go with it. I really don't know where I'm going to go with it. And I said I wouldn't ask you that, but you change. You know, you started off by doing skincare, and then you I think halfway through, probably when we came out of the pandemic, you said, I'm going to talk about lifestyle as well. So you let us into your life very, very gradually. What have you got planned?
You know, I'm very happy with where it is now. My guess, and I'm sure that you're like this too, is that I really only want to do things that I find interesting and fun. So I think that I will just continue to do content that I think is interesting and fun, because if it appeals to me, I think it's going to appeal to the women who watch me, because I'm just an average gal. So, you know, it's just going to continue to morph, and I'm having a great time. And I hope my viewers are too.
They are, and they'll all be saying she's not average. But there's something I want to ask you. So, and this is not sponsored, nobody's asked me to ask this. I've been Googling all afternoon over a device that you use, and I don't actually think we can get it here. It's called the Nebulift, which you demonstrated beautifully. And I have, everything here is just dropping. I'm turning into my dog, Myrtle, the whole lot. And very much the hooded eyes. And I saw you use this, and literally they lifted up. Now, I promise you, everybody, none of this is a collaboration. I wasn't expected to mention this. In fact, I don't even think we can get it here. Can we? Do you think we can get it here?
The answer is, I don't know. If you can, I'll send you one.
No, I truly, I wasn't. Because you know, I like current. It's electric current, isn't it? And I do think it does help. And there's a brand over here I've used, and it kept breaking. It worked, but it kept breaking. And I loved this one. It seemed far more adaptable somehow.
Yeah, I actually used it this morning, and I use it right here. And boy, it just opens my eyes right up. And I love that device. I love that device. Joe, it feels so good. It feels like a face massage.
Really? So I'm desperate, everybody.
It's warm. Your skin's all slippery, and it just does fabulous things.
I am determined to get one. I think you pay import duty, so I'm going to sort that out. Just name it again, Kimberly. Honestly, I haven't asked her to do this.
Yeah, it's the Nebulift. Nebulift or Lyft. So.
Because, and I know we haven't even talked about cosmetic surgery, and I'm sure one day on your channel you will, but I was seriously thinking of having, because I can feel, you say this in your video, you can feel the folds dropping on your eyes when they're resting there. And I was thinking, I really am, seriously, I never thought I'd go under the knife, but it's one thing I've thought. I've had friends that have done it, and they look like they're less tired. And then when you started to use that, I thought, well, maybe I'll give that a go.
Well, you know, you and I we need to hop on a private little chat, because I can give you some tips before you do that maybe in 4 or 5 months, you'll say, I don't need to go under the knife. I think things look better.
Well, before we do that, what I really would love, and I know many of my subscribers would, because you're such a traveller, and I asked you this on the Q&A with you, when are you going to come over to London? You are so so perfect for London because you literally go where your instinct takes you. Can you not fit in a trip next year?
I will put it on my possibilities list. How about that?
This sofa, Kimberly, this turns into a bed. Can you imagine the vlogs? Can you imagine the vlogs we'd create?
Oh my gosh. We would have so much stinking fun.
Stinking. Those kimonos would be open, I'm telling you. Absolutely.
Okay, may I share something really quickly before we sign off? And Joe does not know I'm doing this. She does not know. But I want to talk to you ladies, my subscribers and Joe's subscribers. I have a goal in life. It's one of many goals, but this is a very important goal. My goal is to get Joe to 100,000 subscribers.
God.
And once she does that, she's going to get that plaque that she wants from YouTube so much. She wants that plaque. And you know what I want each one of you to do is if you're not subscribed to Joe's channel, I want you to click that subscribe button down below. Let's get Joe that plaque. It's one of my goals to do it. Won't that be fun? And we can say, once she's at 100,000, I helped do that.
Well,
help do that.
Do you know?
So hit the subscribe button down below is Joe's channel so we can get her to 100,000. And she had no idea I was doing this. She's probably embarrassed right now.
I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed. They know I'm not embarrassed. It will be on that wall there. When I spoke to Kimberly, I said to her, "Where's your plaque?" And she went, "Oh, I don't know." And I just thought, oh my God, I'd have it literally everywhere. I'd photocopy it all over.
You could wear it on around, necklace, big medallion necklace.
I'd wear it as a medallion. Listen, Kimberly, I truly mean it, that I would love it if you'd come over here. I think we would have such a laugh. You could come on my radio show. I'd absolutely love it. So please think about that. My subscribers would love it as well. But can I thank you? And in all seriousness, I take it as such a privilege because we've only just really met each other virtually, that you shared what you've shared with us all tonight. It is such a privilege, Kimberly, and I think you're doing so well, and I'm not patronising you. I think you're bloody amazing. Truly I do. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's been lovely spending time with you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.